The bin chicken! The Ibis RipMo. A long-legged bin chicken, in fact.
This thing has got some serious capability.
It sure does. 160 mils out front, 145 out the back, with geometry which was really inspired by the Ibis Enduro team. They wanted a bike that was built for going fast, and this one certainly is. But we've also found out this afternoon it's pretty damn good on the climbs and in the slow speed kind of situations too. When you look at the way that Ibis have put this in together, it's clearly a really glamorous kind of bike. One thing is that strikes us is just the curves of it. Every angle that you look at it from, it's got something cool going on. It's a really fantastic looking bike. Clever geometry on this bike. If you look at the way that it's put together, you notice that it's got super low standover height. And that is done for a few reasons. One, obviously the benefits of having low standover height, got good maneuverability, you can throw the bike around. But two, as we're seeing a lot of riders doing, and this comes back to sizing, you can upsize on the bike quite easily. You can go to an extra large frame if you normally ride a large, or a large if you ride a medium.
So you get a lot more length for the stability on the bike in front of you, but the bike doesn't grow too tall to run into troubles with seat height. So we've seen a few bikes like the YT Capra doing a similar thing with and the new Specialized Evo, sizing for length versus height.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Ibis licensed DW link for their rear suspension, and just watching this bike work whilst riding behind you, you can see how active it is on braking and square edge hits.
Yep.
And it's just super silent.
Where it hit me first and the hardest wasn't actually when I was going fast. It was on quite a slow speed sort of section, one of those sections where you normally kind of just trundling along trying to keep momentum, and I was just able to really float over everything and glide along, and yeah, that was testament entirely to how good the rear suspension is.
When you combine 29-inch diameter wheels, this amount of suspension, and like 2.5-inch Maxxis tyres, you've got traction and wide rims. So those factors combine to a bike that you feel like you can climb and descend fast, slow. You know, you've got enough traction to really get yourself out of tricky situations. And
totally.
Such a great bike for technical terrain due to the amount of traction you have. So,
100%, in that sort of slow speed situations, or when you're hard under braking, or if you're scrambling your way up a crappy climb, heaps and heaps of traction there. If people want to make it feel a little bit racier, a little bit zippier, you could look to maybe put some slightly thinner tyres on it, slightly skinnier tyres.
Yeah.
But for myself, I love that feel.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you might be pushing a bit more bike to get you there, but once you're in the really technical stuff, you feel so safe. Ibis have always been known for a bit of a boutique-y, Californian brand, and hence high price tags. This bike is reasonably quite good value considering Ibis's reputation. It runs a SRAM GX drivetrain, Shimano dual brakes, keep a lot of the cost down, but you got great suspension, great fork, and obviously the frame and the Ibis wheels, and this bike is under $7,000. So looking
cool.
back a few years, this would have been at
least
not
a
on that
$10,000
price
bike.
point.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the fork, big surprise there. It's a Fox 36. It's only using the grip damper, so the basic damper, but holy shit, it feels great. I've been really surprised by its performance, and it matches really well with the rear end. It's got the DPX2 shock out back, and although there's quite a pronounced travel difference, 15 mils between front and rear, the balance is really good. I've got the fork set up so it's reasonably progressive. I haven't got full travel out of it yet, but for me that works really nicely with a shorter amount of travel in the rear end there. The clean lines of the bike are really enhanced by the great cable routing. Unfortunately, like a lot of US-made brands, there are no provisions for running your rear brake on the left-hand side, which is a total pain in the butt. But other than that, it is really nicely done.
They keep forgetting about us.
No. Don't you know that we invented Vegemite? If you were making this bike yours, Mick, what would you be looking to change?
I would really muck around with the cockpit height to make sure your bike doesn't feel too tall. I would with either stem combination or handlebar combination to find that nice height, because it does feel tall on the front end. The KS dropper post lever, ditch that for an underbar one. I feel like a little bit scared when you lift your thumb off the handlebar to change your remote. Obviously
this segment is really competitive. A lot of people paying attention to these big travel 29ers. How does this one stack up in terms of where it fits into being either a race bike or a long travel trail bike? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, after riding a lot of trails on it, like a lot of all-rounder trails, we feel like it's on the lighter side of the sort of race spectrum. So maybe if your racetracks aren't as as rowdy and fast as others, this bike almost blurs the line between a a usable all-rounder trail bike
Yeah.
and a race bike. So it covers a bit more of a spectrum because of its efficiency and lightweight and just general light feeling.
Totally.
Yeah.
And maybe if you are looking to use it as a race bike, you could take advantage of that low seat height and low seat tube and upsize it.
Yeah,
you
just get a bit more room.
Get a bit more room to go bananas on it.
Go bonkers.
So Mick, after a good few rides on board the RipMo, any final thoughts?
Well, I think this bike is going to be very popular here. It sort of blurs the line of an enduro race bike and a usable trail bike. So it's not too much bike to lug around. And when you're in the really technical trails, you've got a lot of confidence below you. And it's very stylish, very pretty.
Yep.
It'd be a lovely bike to own, and you'd be very very proud of such a stylish rig.
Oh, mate. Tell you what, my wife's pretty proud of the stylish rig that she scored herself. That sort of blurring the lines between trail bike and enduro bike is really relevant, particularly in Australia. We don't necessarily always have the big terrain that demands the full-on slack angles and stuff. So if you're going to have a bike that's built for enduro racing, it's nice to be able to use it as your all-rounder too.
Yeah.
And I think Ibis have definitely managed that. So yeah, great work, Bin Birds. Nice to be back on board one of you.
It's lovely.